Hello and welcome back to the channel. In today's video we're looking again at how Kaspa is gearing up for a massive pump up very soon. This will be a follow-up to the last Kaspa video I made, and it might be slightly shorter than usual. So if you do enjoy this shorter style video, please support the channel by leaving a like and subscribing if you're new. Right, let's get into it. Since that last video, Kaspa exploded from 15 cents all the way up to a new all-time high of 19 cents. Since then, however, over the last week, it has had a minor pullback, and for the last few days there has been some chopping around this region here of 15 to 17 cents. Let's begin by looking at this recent price movement in the last couple weeks for Kaspa and how it has coincided with the power law and the 8-month fractal. Before we start, a huge shout out to Miko Geno, who is responsible for making the power law indicators that I'll touch on later, as well as spotting the 8-month fractal. I'll leave all his links in the description below so you can check him out. Just to explain my chart for you, these vertical green lines signify the different 8-month cycles. The vertical blue lines signify the halfway 4-month point in each 8-month cycle. I've also added labels to the charts to track the significant points in the fractal. To briefly simplify it for you guys though, here's a rough look at the fractal that I quickly put together. The fractal begins with the end of a major dip, which is followed by a minor peak, then a minor dip, and finally a major peak in the second half of the 8-month cycle. This time I've made a note of the final shakeout area, just around the 4-month mark, whereby the price retests the previous all-time high and may slightly break through it. But sellers have one final shakeout before the pump back up into the next major peak of the cycle. So here's what the fractal looks like overlaying the Kaspa chart in the last 8-month cycle between June 2023 and February 2024. When we go back to the previous 8-month cycle before that, we can see that it also well matches over the October 2022 and June 2023 8-month cycle. As you can see, it does follow this pattern fairly closely. Moving back over to the trading view chart, we can see that a few days ago, on June 10th, we hit the halfway mark of the 8-month fractal that began in February earlier this year. Abiding by that fractal, the second half of each cycle is where the major peak occurs. This would mean that we should be seeing a major peak in late June or into July before a pullback again just before the next 8-month cycle begins. What's interesting to us right now is that it seems that because of last week's pump in price and Kaspa breaking through its all-time highs, right now the final shakeout is playing out. This means that once we break through this new all-time high of 19 cents once more, it could mean that it is time to skyrocket to the next major peak. Using Miko Geno's power law bands, you can see that with this purple box I've made a prediction that this next major peak will be north of the 40 cents area. Depending on where the peak is, I do however believe that it is unlikely that Kaspa will surpass 60 cents in this coming 8-month cycle peak here. Therefore, if you were to buy it at today's price of around 15.5 cents, that could give as little as a 258% increase within the next month, as long as we do exceed that 40 cents target in the coming weeks. Consequently, in theory, now, during this final shakeout, is the perfect time to buy more Kaspa if you're thinking about investing more before it takes off and 2x's. For those of you who like to swing trade Kaspa, if I did, I personally would be looking at the fractal and attempting to sell a chunk of my bag at the major peaks and then buying back at a major bottom correction that should follow at a cheaper price. Doing this will allow you to increase the size of your Kaspa bag. However, I do have to explicitly mention that this is a pretty risky maneuver due to the timing of buying and selling being so imperative to making the swing trade worthwhile. And on top of that, those of you who are worried about the tax situation, technically swing trading would be a taxable event, which would no doubt be more hassle to organise. This is why I'm personally not set on the idea yet. So if I was going to, I would have to devise a much more well thought out strategy if I wanted to go through with doing something like that. But for now, I haven't yet given it proper attention. For most of you guys, however, I do recommend that you just chill, relax, and watch that Kaspa price skyrocket over 40 cents, and then continue to hold through your Kaspa bags into the dips. Ultimately, Kaspa will continue to make new all-time highs over the next year, particularly into the bull run, which I believe will peak in around late 2025, maybe November-ish. To extend the chart further, if Kaspa does continue to follow these 8-month cycles, the next two major peaks after July next month will be in March 2025 and November 2025. I will continue to monitor this though, and there's a possibility that the peaks may be a month either side, March and of November. Overlaying the rough fractal on each of the upcoming 8-month cycles, we could potentially see this general price movement over the next few months, hitting our target purple boxes with the major peaks. Looking at March, using the power law, we can come up with vague targets suggesting that we will breach the 90 cents mark. And then looking further into the future at November 2025, potentially we will be breaching, in my opinion, at least to the $2 mark, and even entering the $3 price range, which would most likely line up well with Bitcoin's peak price during November of that year. Obviously though, this is all just theoretical prices and will only remain vaguely reliable if Kaspa continues to follow this 8-month fractal in a similar fashion along the power law lines. Moving on to the hash rate. Again, we have just hit a new all-time high of 335 petahash per second, which suggests that the Kaspa network continues to become more secure against attacks. We're still the third most secure network in the entire proof-of-work industry, and we're hot on the tail of overtaking Litecoin, which, who knows, could be in a matter of months. But the continued increasing hash rate is extremely bullish. Taking a look back at the hash rate versus price logarithmic chart, the blue line represents the hash rate, the grey represents the price. In my previous videos, I've spoken about the idea that whenever the hash rate overtakes the price, it is then followed by a large Kaspa price pump to regain its position over the hash rate. As you can see, since my last video, the price began to do exactly that. However, we have hit a slight shakeout point, as I've just spoken about, in the price, but very soon we should be seeing a huge continuation up as we look for the 40 cent plus range. As for the Rust mining migration, this is arguably the most bullish Kaspa news at the moment. We are currently at 97% Rust nodes, so an increase of 7% since my last Kaspa video, meaning only 3% of Go miners need to migrate. That means that we are within days of Kaspa being fully integrated into Rust language. This means that we are extremely close to Kaspa attaining its super fast 10 blocks per second speeds, which will make it the fastest proof of work coin by miles. So all in all, super bullish news for Kaspa. Now on to more bullish news about Kaspa's KRC20. Here's an interview talking about the KRC20 that recently went semi-viral among the Kaspa community. Keep an eye out for the top right of the screen. This is Shai Deshi, and he is one of the lead developers of Kaspa. While he is not directly behind the KRC20 development, he does aid the efforts of the Kasplex team. Anyway, here's what he had to say.
My personal wish is to see eventually like a stable coin like USD, a non-stable coin like USDT operating on KRC20. And I think that will be just like a blast for usability.
Might happen sooner than you think.
KRCD.
So as you can hear from the video, it's pretty much very obvious that we will likely be seeing stablecoins like USDT and USDC integrated within Kaspa's KRC20 network much sooner than we initially may have thought. So that could literally be a matter of weeks. So what does this actually mean? It means that you would be able to send USDT from one address to another using Kaspa's network and making use of Kaspa's low fees and extremely fast speeds. Currently, as it stands, most users use Ethereum's ERC20 and Tron's TRC20 to move their USDT around. The ERC20 is secure and reliable, and Tron's TRC20 is pretty quick and has low fees. So Kaspa's KRC20 will become a real competitor for these two other chains and provide users wanting to move stablecoins around with a very reliable, secure and fast network with low fees to utilize. Ultimately, this is very bullish news for Kaspa, as it would mean that more usage would come to the network, making it more adoptable. Anyway, that's going to be all for today. As you can see, there's a lot of very exciting Kaspa news, and in my opinion, we're very close to the next major pump up in price, so stock up if you haven't already. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe for more. I try and post twice a week on my YouTube, and I post regularly every day on my Twitter. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.